So, good morning or good afternoon, whenever you are. Thank you for joining today. My name is Theo, and I'm CEO at Outbound, and it's with a great pleasure to have you all here at today's webinar on sales from home for tech companies, and what are the lessons that me and my team learned in the past 2.5 months, and what you could potentially get out of this for you, so that you can start implementing even from today or from tomorrow. Just some logistics before we start. You should be able to see me on a small window and see the presentation. And I'd also be happy, having in mind that we're going to be all over the place. I'm going to be happy if you guys could just share with me how you're feeling at the moment, by 5, from 1 to 5. 5 being that you're feeling extremely great and you're having a great day, and 1 being that, you know, you're feeling very, very, very bad. And you can use the chat window for that. Thank you, Lydia, for setting an example for everyone. Thank you for those who are following. And also, once you share with me how you're currently feeling, I'm going to be happy if you could also share what is your role. Like, are you a founder, a sales executive? Are you a consultant, a marketeer? Yeah, please use also the chat for that. Last practicality for this webinar: in case you have a question throughout the webinar that you want to ask, please use the Q&A option for that, and I'm going to be able to answer your questions throughout the webinar itself. In the end, we're going to be having also a Q&A session. But hey, I mean, if you have something to ask, please do so. I'm going to be pausing from time to time, and I'm also going to be answering your questions. Excellent. You know, kicking with the agenda. Why we are here today. So for your information, we're going to be spending today around half an hour to maybe 40 minutes. I know that you're busy. I'm thankful that you decided to spend a fraction of your day here with me today. So hopefully it's going to be also useful for you. I also believe very, very much in collective intelligence and collective wisdom. So I don't want this to be one way, but in case you have, again, a question, use the Q&A. In case you have something to sort of chime in for the discussion, use the chat box. All this is going to be recorded. And of course, in the end of the day, most probably from tomorrow, you're also going to be able to receive a recording of that. Following up with the agenda, what we learned in the past 2 months: utilizing your current pipeline, channels, prospecting, of course, preparation for the rebound, because the rebound is coming, and that we know for sure. I'm not sure if you remember the good old days. You know, when we were usually gathered in a room and it was full of people and we were interacting with each other, and we didn't really care if the person next to us is wearing a mask or not. We didn't really care how far away from us was this person. We were just there to either meet our potential customers, to learn something new, and this place was quite often our home country, but also quite often anywhere else on the globe: North America, South America, Europe, Asia, you name it. We were generally everywhere. Doesn't matter where our home base was. And also the good old days when we were going to all these events, meeting with people, meeting with our potential customers, discussing, having their pain points, sharing how we could be potentially solving their pain by showcasing what we did or what we've been doing for our current customers. You know, having a smoke, having a coffee, having a beer even after the sessions are over. These days, as we know, are already gone. And why is that? Because we know the situation, and I don't even want to name it on a slide. I'm just going to say it. That's the whole COVID situation that happened, the whole coronavirus thing that hit us hard and generally changed how 2020 looked like and how 2020 is even nowadays. So all the business travel that we were really used to having is now gone. Most probably it's going to be fully resumed by at some point later this year. But you know, the past 2-3 months, the business environment, the business ecosystem, if you'd say, changed totally. So in the end of the day, me and my team sat down and we were like, okay, so what are we supposed to be doing from now on? We're all salespeople. What are we supposed to do now that everything has changed? And then I remembered the a song and the lyrics from a very famous author called Freddie Mercury, that show must go on. and our hearts might be breaking at the moment, and our makeups most probably are flaking, but you know, the smiles should be staying on, and because in the end of the day, the show must go on. And that's what we did, and that's what we've been doing in the past now 2.5, 3 months. And most probably, I guess that's what you did too. So in case you want to share also what you did and how you overcome the situation, again, please use the chat box. We are already living in the new normal. New normal hit us hard with a brick hammer. It changed us as human beings and also as professionals overnight. Hopefully that's for good. A lot of things were great surprise. We didn't really expect those to happen, but at the end of the day, here we are already in this, and we are doing our best as sales professionals, as founders, as marketeers to move on. And today I want to share with you what are the 3 tactics based on our experience, based on my team Outbound's experience that we learned, but also based on the experience of our customers, having in mind that we are selling for technology companies, and we've been also doing that for more than 10 industries. The first one that I want to start with is utilizing your pipeline so that you can protect your revenue streams. And that's extremely important, because paying attention to your current customers, paying attention to how your customers are during these uncertain times is first and most probably the most important thing that you as a founder, as a sales professional should have been doing, you know, in the past times. Some of the things that we did and some of the practical lessons that we learned was, of course, first to call them, call our customers, ask them, hey, how are you? How's this whole situation influencing you? Then we sort of changed on our operations, and some of the things that most probably you could find useful is 15-minute checks on weekly basis. Now, I know that this is strictly in the B2B context, and most probably if you're having hundreds of customers, that's a no-go. But you know, an email a week or a phone call, that's one of the best things that you could have been doing in these uncertain times, so that your customers know that you're there for them, and you're actually looking to proactively help them get out of this situation. Thinking of new ways to be useful is something that we were really putting our heads collectively on. Hey, how can we be even more useful to our customers? What are the small things that we could be doing to say, okay, this is the service or the product that we've been offering until now, and for this price, and the price is going to remain the same, or even we can do some reductions, but in the end of the day, we're striving to also do more for you. So thinking of these new ways to be more useful to your customers is something that you should be looking for in this situation. And last but not least, give more than expected. You know, it's high time to reduce the churn. It's high time to prove that you're an expert, but also in the end of the day, it's high time to prove that you're the partner that and that on a first place your potential customers were seeking for to actually start cooperating with. So give more than expected. It could be an additional research. It could be test feature that, let's say, you could be given for free just for the sake of providing something useful to your customers. Or it could be anything else that is relevant to the industry and to the type of companies that you're working with. But really think of creative ways that you could be more useful or turn to be more useful than expected. And I'd be happy if you share in the chat box what are some of the ways that you decided to experiment in since this whole situation started. Of course, I want to share with you what is the first things that that I did going to our customers and our partners. That's actually an email that I sent to our customers all over, saying that we're all aware of this situation right now, that it's extremely serious, and I want to make sure that I address them personally, but also I want to make sure that they know that we're on the top of our game. So these are the things that I shared with our customers. That's an actual email that I sent, and the bold words here, remote work. Thing number one, that we were prepared for that, and that we actually turned digital from day zero. Business trips canceled, as I already mentioned. That just applies for everyone. So all these offline engagements were already gone. sales continues, because sales is, in my personal belief, the backbone of any business, and sales has to continue, because going to the next point of financial state, in order to keep this financial state going, you should have an ongoing sales efforts. You should, and in the end, of course, by keeping your current customers happier than they initially are. And I want to show you here how this changed for us. That's an actual snapshot of the calendar of our head of sales ops. So all these things that you see blurred here are actually phone calls with our current customers. And he was generally assisting the account managers that are taking care of these customers, but also making sure that he is present on each one of these video or phone calls. So that's just a snapshot on his agenda from Monday to Friday last week of March. But basically we said, okay, we have to really be there for the customers, and we have to be proactively seeking to find ways to make their lives easier and better. Something else that sort of was crystal clear once you move past the existing customers and you focus on your current potential pipeline is the fact that realization that opportunities to close ratio changed dramatically. So it's a totally different number, and that would mean that in order to have these potential deals flowing in, of course, the number of opportunities that you were used to generating had to change too. And I hope that you realize that by the time being, and you made all these necessary changes. So of course, in the end of the day, you have most probably lots of accounts to take care of, a lot of potential leads that you should be proactively reaching out to. How are you prioritizing those? And we were thinking in different ways. And I'm having this bucket theory where you're having the A, B, and C priorities of buckets, and you're basically putting your pipeline, your potential accounts in each one of these buckets. And you're saying, okay, A being the most promising, high priority. We were really close of closing. I want to reach out first to those, because COVID taught us that every week is critical and every week is different than the previous one. And from bucket A going to bucket C, that is, most probably they were haggling, or the accounts that were really not that big of a priority. So you're not really paying attention to them at the moment, but rather keeping it for later throughout the year. Something that we did when it came to our current pipeline is actually turn aggressive. Not that aggressive as the guy that you're seeing, with the pen, but rather, of course, again with the pen, ready to sign the new contracts. And what I mean by aggressive is this thing. This isn't, again, an actual snapshot of another calendar that just our head of business development's calendar last week of April, as you can see here. And these are 23 meetings. So if you can pay attention to the Monday window, there are meetings basically every hour. And these meetings are, again, with new potential customers. So by aggressive, we said, okay, we have to make sure that now that the opportunities to close ratio has changed totally, we have to make sure that we are generating more top of the funnel, so that we can make the likelihood of actually closing much higher. And that's what we've been doing, and that's what Zizi in this case, really meeting with lots of potential customers. So I'm not sure if your calendar looks like this, and I'd be happy to know if you're pleased to share what is the total number of meetings that you were able to organize in a single week in the past 3 months. Write your question in the chat box. But this is how the calendar supposed to look like in times like this. There is no really time for stoppage. And one of the things that I truly believe, if prior COVID we were driving with, let's say, 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour, and everything was going smooth, and things were going in a best possible way, then I'm thinking that once the COVID situation hit, this whole speed changed. And instead of driving with 100 kilometers an hour and just waiting for the circumstances to happen and to see where the markets are going, or where the industries that we're serving are going, we just said, okay, it's now a high time to accelerate. And instead of driving 100 kilometers or 60 miles an hour, we'd now be driving with 140, 150 kilometers an hour. Of course, in the speed limit or 100 miles an hour. Changed all that so that we are proactively reaching out to these new accounts and saying, hey, we are here and we're still ready to do business. So there were more or less the two, three main things that we did when it comes to utilizing the pipeline. Focus on existing customers and of course on the current pipeline, and making sure we are really topping our game on how to, on how to continue with the sales efforts. Channels and how the sales channels is the second practical thing that I want to talk with you today. How the whole sales channels or mediums that we've been using prior COVID and during COVID changed. And I want to start this slide with this survey that McKinsey did for the digital interactions in a B2B context prior the COVID era and after it. And as you can see on the left, prior COVID, it's more or less 50-50. And then when you're going after COVID period or during the COVID period, it's 66%. So that's like 2 times more of digital interactions. And of course, this whole thing had to change. First of all, how we are basing our homes. Are we having the best and the most suitable gear? Are we having, nice webcams or microphones? And in case you think that these are, small elements of all that, I'd rather challenge your opinion, and I'd challenge your opinion, and I'll ask you to reconsider, because having at least slightly nicer camera that you are used to have, and then trying to arrange a background or use the Zooms prearranged backgrounds, and then invest some dollars in a new microphone. That's tremendously helping you in actually trying to send out your message. And it's extremely important that, of course, alongside with your internet connection, that people are able to hear you and see you very well. And once that you're doing all these activities, that you're still there and you're still very present, and people can see you in the best possible way. So really pay attention to your gear. Of course, all of us were welcome to the Zoom world. And what would that mean is that the word Zoom actually became, it became like Google. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody knows about it. Everyone is on Zoom. So once you're there with your potential customers, based on my experience and on my team's experience, really try to look professional, to also sound professional, as if you've always been like that, as if these people are, just standing right in front of you. One of the things that really, really sort of highlighted in terms of a sales channel during this period, of course, was LinkedIn. There was a 26% rise in the sessions for the quarter. LinkedIn really exploded. And of course, everybody is at home. Everybody at some point said, okay, if I haven't been that much of an active on LinkedIn, now that I can't travel, I can't be meeting my potential customers where I'm at, what I'm supposed to do. So really, engagement skyrocketed on LinkedIn, on the platform. Maybe you have noticed that a lot of people started posting posts or doing podcasts or doing some sort of a content, a webinar, if you'd say that they were not really used to before. And that's what happened. That's the whole COVID change that happened in the usage of digital channels. And LinkedIn, I believe, was one of the leading ones. Just want to show you this slide very quickly. Having close to 700 million members, I mean, you're having a huge potential in the US and of course in Europe. And there is a high chance that in case your customers are in any of those two geographies, you are very highly likely to reach out to them on LinkedIn, which I guess that's one of the reasons that the platform really skyrocketed in terms of engagements. And here is the last slide in regards to that, how the whole thing changed from the normal line, as you can see, going from January to March, and then the spike. We're speaking of many of a huge growth. Every third post being coronavirus related, and then every also 3 times more engagement on the remote working. Why? Because we just had to do that. Something that also have been working in the past 3 months, having in mind that our budget for offline events, for conferences, for trade shows was scraped. That's the online conferences. All of those online engagements. And here I've listed some of the useful conferences that me as a salesperson I found useful. As a SaaSTERP, the predictable revenue one, that's by the way upcoming, and the one of the biggest ones, that's Unleash. Usually conferences that were paid, suddenly having in mind that they were purely online, they turned into free conferences. And every one of us, doesn't matter where you are on earth, were given the chance to attend. So I'm just curious, have you guys attended any online conference? Yeah, please, if so, please share in the chat window. Of course, the sales stack, how the sales stack looked like and how the sales stack changed. I'd say number one, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And I know that we're having different, here participants coming from different geographies, both US and Europe. I'd be curious to challenge you, if you may, to challenge me on that. But for me, LinkedIn Sales Navigator is the first thing to really start on your sales stack. And then going for the engagement platforms, of course, Outreach, that's not listed here, but HubSpot, AutoClose, Reply.io. Then on the data and intelligence, and of course, video, that's something that really, again, became sort of a trending topic. I think video was trending again year and a half, 2 years ago maybe, but right now it again appeared on the salesperson sales stack as if, can you be sending these, these emails to your potential customers and including some video in those. So in case you haven't been doing that, I highly encourage you to test it. And some of the free solutions that you can actually test are written here, Soapbox being one of those. And there is also the free version of Drift Video. I'm not sure if it's called this way, but that's a free product that Drift released several months ago. And of course, one of the major players in this field, that's the Vidyard platform. So if you're if you're into testing right now, and I truly believe it's a high time of testing, a high time of experimenting with new things, try on video prospecting if you haven't done that yet. Speaking of course, speaking of prospecting and how this whole situation changed for us, well, as I already mentioned, I mean, it didn't really change. It just accelerated. And at some point, we realized that, we shouldn't stop prospecting. There are new rules right now. Of course, you should be sensitive and you should be empathetic towards and empathic towards your future customers. But in the end of the day, again, sales is the lifeblood of any company, of your company. And in case you are really solving the pains of your potential customers, doesn't matter where on earth they are, then your prospecting process should be just ongoing all the time. As this revenue generation is just extremely crucial for your company, for any company in that sense. So in case you were also, let's say, used to being provided with the leads, so in case you were or you are still representative of market-driven organization, most probably marketing-driven organization, sorry, most probably at the same, it's high time that you realize that, okay, I'm not going to be waiting for these to come, just for the leads to come, but I'm going to right now be proactive towards generating my own leads and see if whatever my value proposition is could be presented in the best possible way to these leads so that I can turn them into potential customers. There was a lot of written on LinkedIn by different influencers and C-level people that, now is not just, I'd say, blaming salespeople. Now is not the time to prospect. Now you should be more, even more empathic towards your potential customers. Everybody's having a rough time and so on and so forth. That's totally true and that's totally fine. But if you're a seasoned player and if you know your game, there for sure have been different ways to overcome that. If you have such, please share them again in the chat window. One of those that for me worked really well is just saying, hey, I see that you're going through this hard time. If you'd like, and if you think it would make sense, I'd offer you to speak once this is all over, once the pandemic is over, so no strings attached. In case you want to chat now, let's do that. And there were some people that were really eager to actually chat now. Of course, there were some that said, okay, let's wait for all this to be over. The main idea is to acknowledge it, but at the same time to be, persistent with your efforts. And of course, in the end of the day, some of the major things, some of the major lessons that we learned by doing sales for our organization and also doing sales for our customers' organization. First one that really worked well across industries was offer free audit or free consultation. A lot of companies, a lot of industries were hit hard. A lot of people didn't really want to move with new potential deals, new potential partnerships, because at the end of the day, numbers changed overnight. So what we found really to be really working is to be proactively reaching out to your future customers and tell them, okay, I'm offering you a free audit or a free consultation or free, I don't know, free demo for an extended period of time, or anything that I can help you, put my product in front of you or my service and make you consider it. That really worked. That's a strategy, of course, that works in general, but in the past 2-3 months, it really worked well for us. Other thing is to add value in advance by providing some insights, providing some information based on the current customers that you've been having, or based on the successful case studies that you've been having alongside with your current or previous customers. So providing all these value in advance and slowly building up to the potential partnership or to the potential new customer and the relation that you can start with them. Brexit, I don't know if you guys remember this topic, but that was quite the topic at the beginning of 2020. Now almost no one talks about it, and I believe we all know why. But at the moment, UK market is moving in an interesting direction, looking for companies in EU, and I guess also that applies for the US. Currently, a lot of changes and a lot of shifts going on in there. So in case you haven't been focused on the UK market, or you've been avoiding it on purpose for some reason, now is a good time to actually change on that and do some first tests to see how your potential customers are going to be responding over there. Of course, look for channel partnerships. We have some of our service companies who are in the service business, managed services, or any sorts of tech services. We started, instead of looking for end customers, we started looking for channel partners, and that's been working really well, because there are a lot of enterprises, especially, that really changed their channel partners because of some reasons. Of course, unfortunately, we have that some businesses went bankrupt or in a really bad shape. So you have more and more companies that are willing to be open to look for new partners. If that's what your core activity, most probably you know that very well. If that's not, and you haven't been looking at this as an opportunity to generate new business, and now is a good time to actually start implementing on that. And of course, when it comes to the US market, as you know, that there is a big difference in how US is moving with the whole outbreak when you compare it to Europe. Right now, in case you're a European UK entity looking at the US for new business, most probably that's not gonna hit success. That is highly likely. And of course, there are some exceptions here, health tech and education, if you're doing LMSs of sorts. But yeah, US for the US, you're gonna have to wait, and especially if you have planned any sort of offline engagements in a second period of 2020. I guess that these are all over now, and yeah, this whole thing is totally changed. So really focus on somewhere else. And of course, in the end of the day, what we all know is that this thing is gonna be over, and you have to start preparing yourself for the rebound. And how the rebound is gonna look like, it really depends on, of course, the industry, the geography, how your potential customers look like, and what you've been doing in the past 2 or 3 months. I hope you didn't really stop prospecting, and I hope that you didn't stop on your sales efforts. but you know, what things will get better. What comes down goes back up at some point of time. And in order to be prepared, once this is there, you have to keep on prospecting. You have to channel your internal resources for better online engagement by being more active on LinkedIn, by posting something, you know, posting content on LinkedIn, by holding webinars such as this one. By the way, it's not a big philosophy, believe me, to do that. By also taking part in online engagement such as conferences. And of course, last but not least, really to keep your current customers happier than they initially were, let's say a month ago, a week ago, or 2 months ago, because it's much harder to generate new business right now. And it's been much harder to generate new business in the past 2 months. But, you know, current customers, in case they're happy with what you've been providing, could be the very reason that you are still, you know, still in the ground, still heads above the water, and most probably the reason that you're gonna be finished this year strong. Well, that's more or less all the content that I prepared for you for today, guys. Now I'd be happy if you have any questions, or if you'd like to chime in for the discussion. I'd be also even happy to give you the word. So in case you want to say something, please or raise your hand, and I can give you the right to actually ask the question in case you're having mic or you're with headphones with mic. And if not, you can just ask your questions in the Q&A window, whatever works for you. Let's see. Okay, there we have one person here. Kate, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Excellent. Hi, hey, good to hear from you.
Yeah, me too. I have a question. Do you have one or more examples of what worked during this crisis for someone, like real life case study, example, whatever?
In terms of a specific industry, or could you please specify a bit?
I don't care about if it's a specific industry, like some sales tactic that worked during this downtime in a way.
Yeah.
That
So
you've heard of, or that you.
Sure. Thank you for asking. I'm going to mute you now again. The first one that pops in my mind is the one that I shared about, you know, actually by being proactive towards your potential customers within your message, to say, okay, I'd suggest that we could talk after all this is over, but in case business hasn't stopped with you, and in case you're looking to have a conversation, and, you know, looking to and are open to new opportunities, then I'd be happy to chat. So that's one tactic that worked for us. The other one that worked for customers of ours was the offering of the free consultation or free service. So you know that people are at home, and most probably they're much more approachable, either by phone or by email or by, for example, LinkedIn message. So offering something in order to kickstart the relation, that's something for free, was also a good tactic that worked for some of our customers. Yeah, I see that Boris also shared something here in the channel. So yeah, I mean, there are multiple ways. For me, the best thing about this whole situation was that it changed the game for all of us. At the same time, it didn't mean that business has to stop. And by being proactive, by, you know, being curious and being genuinely interested in in what your customers need, really did the work for us. We also have 2 more questions here in the Q&A. What sort of remote learning solutions are educational institutions looking for? That's a great question. When it comes to educational institutions, I think that, you know, that there was one of the biggest shifts, in case these educational institutions were not really leaning to remote. But of course, we have many of those that really were going there prior to the whole situation. So you have, of course, first thing that pops in my mind is Zoom and the way how they position themselves. And in case you haven't tried on that, I guess that, you know, maybe it's now a good time to experiment. There are a lot of SaaS solutions for remote learning specifically. You have a very well presented way, for example, platforms such as Udemy and Coursera on how this is all done. And of course, I'm not saying that you have to build a platform such as Udemy or Coursera, because that's very expensive in the end of the day. But there are tons of solutions from Microsoft, from Google, and also from Zoom that you can be implementing to, you know, if you're in an educational institution. Yeah. Next one, are organizations still looking to set up, optimize, or customize their digital workplaces, or has that wave passed? Great question again. I think that we were in the sort of the highest peak of that wave maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, where the whole Europe was locked and the lockdown on the continent started, and also it moved to the US. I think the US has always been way ahead when it comes to remote, based on all these great examples that we're having from the tech world. But as of right now, I'd say that we're sort of in the end of this wave, because we really, when you think about it, we really had 2 or 3 months to think of our strategy and to implement, and having in mind that business was changing so fast, and having in mind that, you know, things were moving so quickly. People really did the needed changes in matter of, first, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks. So my personal opinion, of course, you have many companies that are still thinking of how to really do it, but I think that we're in the end of this wave. We have here Leslie. Just give me a sec. Hi, Leslie. Can you hear me?
I can. Thanks. This was great. Kate introduced me to you guys. I've been enjoying your content.
Awesome. Hey, good to have you here.
Thanks. You mentioned that the number of opportunities to get to a close will shift, the ratio that you've been working with. What are you guys seeing? Is it a 2x, a 3x?
Oh. Positive, or on a positive note, or on a more realistic note? What kind of answer should I give here?
Real deal, the actual.
Real deal?
Yeah,
okay.
Give it to me straight.
I'd say more than 5. It's really changed, because there were 2 main things that we noticed. With companies that were really affected by it, of course, they shrink, and at some point of time, you just lose those potential accounts, and you have to be thinking of which are those that are not really affected by it, and can I help them? Of course, that's also a very important question. That was the first group of these that were really affected. The second group, though, was people, leads, accounts, whatever we call them, potential customers that were not affected, but they were really afraid. And they just decided to shrink because they were afraid, because at some point of time in the media and everywhere that we were, you know, you start your day, you're reading news and you see this whole chaotic situation. People were really afraid of what was happening. And they were like, okay, right now, if I was thinking that I'm going to be doing these specific plans and that's how my 2020 is supposed to look like, now this has completely changed. So yeah, that's, with this second group made our lives, you know, a nightmare in a way, because you see success cases, you see people that are not really going to be that much of affected, but because of the fear factor, they decided to change everything, and that really influenced. So yeah.
I hear you.
Great. Thank you for the question. Okay, maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Tim, can you recommend any specific tactics, tricks for online demos that help you close more deals in the current situation? Definitely, once you have a prospect on a demo, do your homework, and that's not new, right? We are all here, sales professionals and founders, and we most probably all know that. But what I found out, and also I think my team is sharing on that. What we found out in the past 3 months, that you have to go back to the basics. So a demo, do your homework in the best possible way. Put some examples, try to personalize it, try to really personalize it in the best possible way. And also give some options of, hey, if this is solving your current problems, and if this is helping you be a better company, or this is helping your processes, I'm really willing to, to give it, to extend on the free trial, so that you can see if this is going to really work for you. And I'm not proactively looking to get your money as of right now. I'm rather looking to have this long-term relationship, because I understand how hard the situation is. So yeah, that really worked for us. Luigi, good to see you here. What would be your advice to startup scale-ups who saw their window of opportunity getting narrowed because of that? The window of opportunity got narrowed for each one of us, and that's a simple truth. Number one thing for every one of us to know is that this too shall be over at some point of time. That the new normal is actually digital being boosted. That at some point of time, offline engagements would be resumed. But until then, you have to adjust. If you haven't adjusted yet, I wouldn't say it's too late. I would really encourage you to start adjusting as of right now. All your marketing strategies, maybe, being with a different message that's really corresponding to what's happening. If you're proactively doing outbound, of course, being aggressive in never stop prospecting way, but at the same time being very kind and understanding of people why they're actually saying no. Founders would be having great, I'd say, an experience of a lifetime. And as an author, I recently read about, quoting here, that we aged the generation. In the past 3 months, we really aged the generation. So tons of learnings. Hopefully you're afloat. If in case you're looking for additional money, you're going to be having a hard time. In case you're having paying customers, make them happier. Be with a positive mind that this would be over. I know it's hard. It's been hard for everyone. Believe me, for me, things were changing. Sleeping like a baby, waking 3 to 5 times a night. Things were changing on a weekly basis, and each week was different than the other one. So that was very, very great learning. And what I currently see, hopefully, and it's been like this for the past week now, and what we currently see is that there is some light in the end of the tunnel. Really, things are slowly starting to improve. Most of the European countries now unlocked down. Businesses would slowly try to get back to normal. Is second wave coming? No idea. Maybe no one knows. Situation in the US, in case your customers and your market is there, difficult to say. It's gonna take time. They still need, time to handle all this. Is it going to be end of this year, or when is the recovery? How the whole thing is gonna be? I don't know. But just plan realistically. Don't be too optimistic, and really just keep on being proactive towards your potential customers. That's what I say. Thank you very much for the questions. And in order to sum up on that, I want to show you here again I want to end up with a quote of this famous author that said that I'll top the bill, I'll overkill. I have to find the will to carry on with the show, because in the end of the day, the show must go on. And, our show, being founders, being sales executives, being in marketing, would have to go on too. So thank you very much for being present here today. I hope that you learned something, at least one thing really. Again, I'm Theo Shikov. You can find me and add me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to chat about your your sales strategy from now until the end of the year, and you know, give a friendly advice if possible. And of course, if you want to learn more, outtobound.com/blog, our blog page, where we're also having a podcast for founders, especially useful. But I guess if you're a salesperson too, you could find something interesting. Thank you very much for attending. You're going to have a recording from this one. And yeah, wish you a great day ahead. Thank you and bye-bye.